Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of the Mount Moon Review Podcast, the podcast where your Pokemon are just talked about incessantly to the point where you're wondering, why am I really doing this with my life? I am your host, the Razgrees, with my co-host, the Blue Duck Gold Duck, without the E, and we're here tonight to talk to you about all things Pokemon, and hopefully not Pokemon Sleep, because I've yet to talk about that, and I want to keep the joke running. Duck, what do you got to talk about tonight?
Well, this is a pretty slow week for news.
It is incredibly slow. As a matter of fact, I didn't even look at our format until about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it was to the point where I was looking for stuff to send to Duck today, and I was actually sending him videos of a guy we typically make fun of because he had some pertinent information, even though his views on it were a little skewed. But through a diligent work, Duck's come up with some a much better take on the information that was given. Now, we're not going to throw that person under the bus, but he knows who he is. Other than that, Duck, how's your day been, man? Since last week, how have you done, and what have you been up to in the world of Pokemon?
So, my world of Pokemon, I'm currently working up, like I do construction for my day job, and I am working up on a mountain with no internet connection, no data. I can talk in group chats on Facebook, and that's about the most I can do on the internet. So normally, every time we take a break at work, I'm looking up Pokemon stuff, and now I can't. So I got to get my fix all after work. So that's why stuff like what you sent me today is actually news to me when I see it. Normally, I've already seen most of the stuff.
Yeah, and you actually have memberships to a lot of the websites, too, so you're usually our primary source for that obscure stuff. Now, I'm the guy that's like the sensationalist, whereas you're the nitpicker. So,
right, I'm checking Reddit, I'm checking 4chan, I got a Poke Beach, I got 6 prizes. So I got everything.
Have you managed this week to pick up any Hidden Fates?
I did not even try.
I tell you, I went. I had to run to Walmart just for something the other day, and when I was in there, they had one single box. It was a pin box of Hidden Fates, and I got my little Mew pin, but I also got my 3 packs, and I did okay. I mean, 3 packs. I got a full art Jesse and James, so I can't really complain too much.
Banned. It's banned.
I know, but at least I got it.
And expanded.
At least it's a cool
card.
It is a cool card. I'm really happy I got that one. But yeah, there's a huge shortage of Hidden Fates, and the thing that's really kind of irritating me at the same time. I'm a capitalist at heart, but it's kind of irritating that you can't find the stuff in stores, but you go on any of the Facebook groups and you got guys selling them by the freaking pallet because they're going out and just buying the stores out.
Exactly. So I have noticed a thing from the Pokemon Company. I've never really experienced it in TCG until now, but they do this thing where they're like, okay, we're going to release this product. We're not going to release very many of them, though. And that makes people really want them. I think this is like a Nintendo thing as a whole.
Yeah.
So then you get Nintendo products that people thought of that, and they're like, oh, this is going to be valuable. They buy 2. Then sell one for like $500, like exclusive DSs, rare skins and stuff like that.
Yeah,
an example from Pokemon is that Pokewalker that came with the Heart Gold and Soul Silver. That thing was like $100 at one point.
The heck is a Pokewalker?
It's kind of like that Pokeball they released with the Pokemon Go thing you could get.
Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. Yeah, the Pokeball
Plus. It was
Plus.
kind of like that. You could put your Pokemon in the Pokewalker, and then it would count your steps. It was like a step counter.
I have one here somewhere. Where's it at? I don't know. It's in my room somewhere.
So it would count your steps, and then your Pokemon would get experience points based on how many steps you took.
But now we got Pokemon Sleep. So.
Well, yeah. But that one product alone, it came with the game. Like, if you bought the game early on in stores, it came with the little Pokewalker. But then they released it without the Pokewalker later on.
Well.
But that Pokewalker was really valuable. Like, they did not meet the demand at all.
I'm kind of curious. While we're talking about that, I'm gonna type it on eBay and see what it is.
Sure. Yeah, I think last time I saw it was around 50.
About 30.
Yeah,
Yeah, about 30
so it's
bucks.
down
It's down.
now. But when Sun and Moon came out, they released it with this bracelet and Z crystals that you could like.
Oh yeah, I saw that, and
Remember that?
it was the size of. It could be classified as a weapon because you could knock somebody out with that thing. It was huge. But I remember seeing that when I got Sun and Moon late into the game because I didn't have a 2DS, and when I got my 2DS, that was the first game I got, and I saw that in GameStop. They still had it. It was on the discount rack, but they had it, and I was seeing the Z crystals at like the discount bin at Target. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, you want to know why that's bullcrap? Because I pre-ordered it. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'll sell it for $100.
Not so much, huh?
No, they overstocked that one. So I think they do this thing where they make things demanding. Like you don't like they create a demand for it, and then they don't uh supply it, and then they make a crazy market for it, and then the next time they release something big, they they meet the demand, so everybody buys it, thinking it's going to go up in price.
Yeah, I really wanted to get the Mewtwo pin set box, but what and I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to ruin a lot of people's day, and I'm going to tick a lot of people off by telling people this. If you are looking to buy these boxes, stay off of the Facebook websites. Quit buying them for $50 for freaking box of 3 cards and a pin. Pre-order them from GameStop and get them for the retail price.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing.
And I'm not even saying like this is something you should have done. You can still do this. You can still go in and do it, and they will honor it. So that's my way to fight the man a little bit. So there you go. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't support those prices at $50, so I don't
no,
buy it if I don't support it.
no.
You get better luck buying the singles of the shinies you want,
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. I mean, I did.
unless it's Charizard.
I bought it simply because it was there, and I was like, well, it's 3 packs, $15, and I get a free pin, and I like the Mew pin. And
Oh no, I'd definitely buy it from the store if I saw it.
oh yeah, for $15, I'm on it all day long. I'm just not going to go out and buy it. If they had a rack of them, I still wouldn't have bought a rack of them. I still would have bought just the one.
I collect those pins. Like I have almost every enamel pin they've released in the TCG products.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know you
I
did
don't
that.
I don't have it. I have a cork board with all the pins on them.
Mew,
I'm only missing like 5 or 6.
mew.
But now, when they release them now, they release like 5 pins at a time, so it's like, geez.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the World Championship decks to come out so I can get the DC pin.
Oh, I don't collect those because I don't like the way any of the pins they ever made for World Championship.
I thought the Nashville one was ugly, but that's.
They all have Pikachu.
Anyway.
Oh, okay. Yep. TCG news.
Okay, what do we got for the world of the trading card game here in Pokemon?
So, we all know that the next big block, is they always follow the game. So the next block is going to be Sword and Shield. They told us that at Worlds.
Yes, they had the big announcement, and where we know that the next set is Sun and Moon's done. We're going to be calling Sword and Shield with our next set.
Yep. So, Japan gets their Sword and Shield set in December. I think it's December 6th. And so they're letting their retailers are now pre-ordering all these new products, and so they're putting out that information of what they can pre-order, out into the world. So a couple of the products, and that it kind of gives us a little bit of insight into what we might be getting in the States. They're getting 5 theme decks, which I don't know if that's normal for Japan or not. We normally get 3 theme decks with the first set. So like it'll be a theme deck based around the 3 starters, one for each.
Yes.
They're actually getting 5. The 3 starter types: grass, water, fire, plus electric and fighting. So I'm not sure
Well, I
What's go-
saw that there was some logos for the two the mascot type Pokemon for this one. I can't pronounce them. The ones we've seen in the trailers.
Zacian
Yeah,
and Zamazenta?
there you go. Maybe they're going to be based around them. I'm not sure.
Oh, it could be. We don't know their types
Yeah, we
yet.
don't know their typings, so it could be a possibility
Huh.
they're revolving around them because I did see some images of their names in the Pokemon V font, so that's quite possible.
Um, maybe. Well, so for Sun and Moon, we got the 3 starter sets, and then I believe the Guardians Rising theme decks were Lunala and Solgaleo, the second expansion. So maybe they're
Yes,
just getting all 5 at once, and then we'll get the next 2.
that makes a lot of sense. And I'll tell you this: if you are someone who plays just the video games, someone who plays maybe on PTCGO, if you're gonna get into try to get into the card game, a theme deck is definitely the way to go. If you're gonna start playing, get yourself a theme deck. Anymore, they're pretty good. You're gonna get a couple of your staple cards you're gonna need anyway for the current format. So
Yeah,
always
they've gotten
always try to get your
better and
theme
better.
decks. And the best thing about the theme decks, if you do play like PTCGO for example, is they come with a code card that will allow you then to play that exact deck in the game, so you can do that like on your tablet or whatnot. And just speaking of code cards, I was going through some stuff and I did find a code card that we can give away here on the podcast for anybody who's interested. It's right here.
Oh boy, are you
And
gonna do a raffle?
we might do a raffle for that, but I'll talk to you about that later. It comes from a Pokemon pre-release, which if you're getting into the game, start with your theme deck. In the first tournament you should get yourself into, because I've seen a lot of debate about people saying about taking their kids to um, league cups or league challenges. Take them to a pre-release first. Do them a huge favor. Go to a pre-release first. One, you get a boatload of new cards, which is always fun. But on top of that, they get to learn what the Swiss tournament system is like and just how competitive Pokemon players can be. So, do definitely consider that. And that's just my word of advice for people trying to get into the game.
No, I definitely agree. Pre-release was my favorite type of tournament to go to when I wasn't that good.
It still is my favorite. Dude, like if I take the kids to pre-release, they always have like hellacious pulls. It's ridiculous. Uh, my oldest, he always gets something decent out of it. And plus the fact that I usually end up with a lot of the staples that I need for the upcoming series, and I always do fairly well in them. My oldest son has never lost a pre-release. Every pre-release he's ever played in, he's taken first place in the juniors division. I don't know how he's done it, but he has every time.
What can I say? The kid is good.
Gets lucky. So, anyway, so we're gonna get 5 theme decks in Japan. Do you think we're gonna get all 5 of them here?
I don't know. I doubt it. Or like I suggested before, it
Be
might be in
spaced
the
out.
next set. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're actually getting this really cool storage box with it too. It like folds up in on itself. It looks really neat. I wouldn't buy it
No,
because I'm pretty picky about how I store my cards, but
I as
it
well.
looks cool.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of Japan and the United States and Europe and everywhere else for that matter. The stuff outside Japan is always different. They never have the same merch. Your deck boxes, your sleeves, everything's always different. So when you go to like a big event like a regionals or a worlds, you always find the Japanese players have the tables with suitcases full of crap they're trying
yeah.
trying to trade. Um, but yeah, so this because it's in Japan does not necessarily mean that we're gonna get it.
Speaking of suitcases, there is actually a sword and shield suitcase.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know how big it is. In my like before I read the description, I thought it was a lunchbox.
Oh God.
So it's probably like a small suitcase. But
But
if it's like not as thick as a lunchbox, that's you could like walk into a tournament like Seto Kaiba and pull your rare cards out of it.
see, the Ultra Pro used to make like a briefcase that was a card box, and it actually the Ultra Pro rather deck boxes it fit a certain amount of them like perfectly, and it's apparently ridiculous to find one at a decent price now,
Huh.
but I really wanted one for a long time. Back when I was dumb and uh, keep kept building decks from scratch and not having interchangeable cards. So I went back when I had like a dozen Guzmas, you know.
Yeah. Um, Another thing they showed us were the usual binders. So like normally we get like I think they're called portfolios
Yes.
technically, where it's like a small, you know, 10 by whatever 10 by 8 binder that has four card slots per page. You get the one that's like one card slot per page,
Yeah.
the tiny little one
Complete
that
complete trash.
yeah, basically.
It's
But you see
trash.
a lot of kids just put their shiny cards in them.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's one of those things that I keep in the front pocket of my backpack just to give out because I'm not ever going to use it.
so that is stuff that we will probably see.
Oh, absolutely. That kind of stuff. They're little tchotchkes. They'll hawk those all day long.
And then they're actually releasing non-elite trainer box flip dice, which is the randomizers. That's what I call them, and that's what that's what everybody who learned Pokemon through me calls them. It's the dice you roll in order to determine a coin flip, like heads is tails, or heads evens is heads, tails is off.
Yeah. The general rule for the dice is you try to use the ones that are official Pokemon dice, but the
Right.
way the rule is actually laid out is they had to be clear, not like see through. They have to be able to see through them. They have to be rounded edges, and the thing that most people fall into a trap of is you need to make sure you also still have an official Pokemon coin with you because the card does say flip a coin.
Right. So your opponent can force you to flip a coin instead of roll a dice.
Yeah. Now that makes them a colossal jerk.
Yeah, I saw it on stream once.
And you feel free to bridge those cards and bend them up for me because they deserve it.
Um, let's see. So we got the flip dice. They are also releasing a product that doesn't come out. It actually comes out in America on November 15th, which is the same date that Sword and Shield come out, like video games. And in it is 3 promos, the starters. You get in jumbo cards, there's 2 boxes, so you get a jumbo card of Zacian and a jumbo card of Zamazenta, depending on which one you get.
So what do you do with your jumbo cards?
I have a few that like when my family wants to buy me gifts, they just buy me Pokemon cards.
Of course.
So I have a few. The jumbo cards from the gifts I have in a Pokemon lunchbox,
Nice.
and then the other ones I just kind of give out to kids.
Yeah.
If I feel it's worth to buy a product that has a jumbo card, I'll just hand the jumbo card to a kid in the vicinity.
Fair enough.
But that does give they did the same thing for Sun and Moon, and I actually went out on the day Sun and Moon released and bought both of these products. And it was really weird. They had the jumbo. They didn't reveal the Solgaleo and the Lunala card at that point, so they had like the HP blurred out and the energy costs of the attacks. I think we could read the text on the attacks, but we could not read. We didn't know the energy cost. So
Yeah.
there's a couple weird things. Like retreat cost was like covered up. So we'll probably get something similar to that, but hopefully it gives us some information on the Zamazenta and Seishian cards.
Well, here's hoping. But I just like the idea that we're finally going to way to get dice other than the Elite Trainer boxes because, quite frankly, I like the Elite Trainer boxes, but sometimes I feel like I'm getting ripped off.
Yeah, so the 2 that they released, or the 2 that they showed, was like Pikachu on the face of each side, and then it looked like a word bubble, and it was all Japanese.
Of course.
But maybe that was saying what the number of that side was.
Or
Like it's
or
like
it's probably just 2 different pictures, one that said odds and one that said evens.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's true too.
That's probably what it
'Cause
is.
I think their numbers read the same as us.
Yeah, maybe it says heads,
So.
one says tails, who knows.
Oh yeah, that would make more sense. And then a Pokeball one. and I don't know. I can only see one side of the Pokeball one.
I'll take the Pokeball
So
one. I use for my randomizer and for my counters. I actually use the black Professor's dice with the logo on it. That's just what I use because I have access to them.
yeah, I have a play Pokemon die I received from a tournament,
I,
like
I
just as
s-
a
I saw
participation.
that you had the Lancaster regional
Yeah,
one.
yeah, I
Yeah,
actually got it. I got it at a League Cup at Comic Con in Harrisburg.
gotcha.
But they just, everybody, we were playing in round one, and they just started walking around with this goodie bag of stuff, and like just pick one thing out of it for all the participants. So, I grabbed a handful of dice and then picked that one because that was the coolest.
That's awesome. I
Um,
kind of wish they still had a regionals in Lancaster.
yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, or Harrisburg or Altoona. There's plenty of places where you could put a regionals.
Oh, absolutely, abso-freaking-lutely. But unfortunately, Pennsylvania's lost them all entirely. The closest one we have now is going to be Atlantic City or New. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Atlantic City.
Um,
Excuse me.
so there's a weird thing with the laws in PA where one year it's considered gambling to let children play for money, for prize money,
Yeah, it seems
and
like it
one year
Pennsylvania
it's not.
it
So
changes constantly. It just depends on who's in office to interpret the laws at that particular time. Even though it's very much a game of skill, not a game of chance.
right, it's just like that's considered they consider it gambling or who knows what they're doing.
Yeah,
Whatever. I don't understand all that mumbo jumbo.
I try not to, but so that's cool. That's we also know that
and fi-
there's might not be a set in January.
yeah, so as far as I can tell, I went to try to research this. It never really mattered before, but Japan always gets uh, a set. Japan gets a set every month, basically. So
Right.
it's a small set of cards, the same month that we get a set. But then they also get sets for the next 2 months, and they're all smaller. It's like 100 cards per set,
Yeah.
or
Whereas
60 or
instead of
70 cards per
getting
set.
a large set every 3 months, they get three small sets, one every month.
Right. We get one big set, like 230 cards every 3 months, and they get a set every month. Um, but it looks like maybe they're going away from that. I don't know. I tried to look at history, and I cannot find the dates that the Sun and Moon or that any expansions released. Really, just the big ones.
Hmm.
So, uh, we have the dates so far for the Sun and Moon set, or Sword and Shield set comes out on December 6th, and then Sword and Shield set 1A, which is normally 1A is the name of the first subset they get, comes out in February.
So they are skipping a month for Japan,
So they're skipping January.
which we always,
And the set in February comes out on February 5th.
which again
is
on this podcast we reiterate, just because they did it in Japan does not mean we're doing it here.
Right. But
But
our set, it will become the street date for our Sword and Shield set, the Sword and Shield base set, will be February 5th. If you follow the pattern of release dates, it's always 3 months apart. We're going to get a set in November, and then December, January, February, and it's the first Friday of that month.
right, so that could possibly mean we might be standardizing like a worldwide format, or not format, but rather a worldwide release as it pertains to the cards.
At one point, once they rotate the entire Sun and Moon block from standard, they might rotate it for Japan as well, and then every single card is the same. So I'm thinking within the next year or two, we're gonna have a worldwide standard, which would be awesome because
It would certainly
we'll have to see how
alleviate
they
some
release
confusions.
things this year.
It would alleviate some confusion and also standardize rules across the globe.
Right, and they might be doing they might start to slow down how they release stuff. Instead of releasing one a month, they do one every other month. And then by the time we're on worldwide, then it'll be once every 3 months, or maybe we'll both get a set every other month.
That's quite possible too, because Pokemon loves to make money.
And I've always thought, like, how could you make a worldwide standard when Japan would have to change? Like, that's a huge marketing change to go from a set every month to a set every 3 months. and it's a huge marketing change for the whole rest of the world if you go from every 3 months to every month. But it's not that big of a change if they both go to every other month.
Yeah, I can see them doing that, and you could, turn your pre-release revenue up in the United States, and also just try to boost your sales in Japan. So it makes a lot of sense to do it, whether they do or not, or that's what their thought process is, or maybe we're just somebody screwed up some dates and we're seeing the wrong dates. We don't know yet. I guess we probably won't know until closer to then. But it's just something to keep in mind that it is a possibility. And when it does happen, you can look back on episode 8 of this podcast and say, "Oh my God, they were right."
So that's what I'm hopeful for. I also respect the possibility that because there's a sword set and a shield set coming out in December in Japan, so they're getting 2 sets. Normally it's 1 set.
Okay, that's different.
I'm worried that it's like, since you got 2 sets in December, you get no sets in January, and then you get 1 set in February, and then it's back to the normal 1 set a month released. That is a possibility.
That is quite possible.
I tried to look up when, like, how they always do that. Like, there was a sunset and a moon set. A sunset.
But dumb bum.
Got a sunset and a moon set, and then I tried to find out when the first Sun and Moon expansion came out, and I couldn't find the dates for anything. It's kind of difficult to find.
Gotcha.
So I couldn't confirm or deny if this actually fits their normal pattern.
So if it actually happens, look back on us and say, "Wow, these guys are awesome." If it doesn't happen, forget this podcast ever happened. So
yeah, like the one from a couple weeks ago where none of our leaks were right.
Yeah, but then the one the week before that, they were all right. So hey.
Right.
So okay, let's put a pin in TCG. That's pretty much all. I didn't have anything else to contribute for TCG this week, and I don't think you do either. So
that's it.
We last week when we did our big long episode, we were talking about TCG as it pertains to the World Championship that we both attended. Went into detail about how you met Ishihara.
Yep.
And we decided to skip VGC because we were already like an hour and 20 minutes into it. So at this point, we got a whole lot of VGC information to go over, and I am completely not involved with VGC. I've decided that when Sword and Shield comes out, I'm gonna make an effort to actually do VGC this season. I know I'm not going to be able to get the points because people are already competing now on the 2DS with Sun and Moon, but I'm going to give it a shot just so I can broaden my horizons a little bit, and maybe for the 2021 season, maybe I'll do VGC as well as top of TCG. But
I've actually had a very similar thought process.
But you've actually done the VGC stuff, so. You're obviously going to be spearheading the rest of this conversation. So I'm going to come under the learning tree of Duck and learn all I can about VGC. So why don't you take the lead on this?
I would like to first emphasize that I did not play at all any VGC, any competitive battling in Sun and Moon.
Okay, well, point noted.
So, and X and Y though, I was pretty heavy. I read, I maxed out my X and Y game, or my X version, at the 999 hours.
Well, that's
because I was constantly breeding, constantly playing, constantly making new teams and everything. So I played a lot in that, and then I just transferred everything up to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and just played from there. I bred the stuff in that what needed, but at the point of that point in the game, I was already pretty much set up with basically everything.
Okay, well, let's just go with what you got for today, though.
Right, I just don't want to claim to be like an expert and then say something stupid here.
So Duck is not an expert. We're going to stipulate to that, and the record will indicate that Duck does not have expert status in this hearing. So go ahead.
Okay, so they revealed a lot of new features for Sword and Shield. And I would like to point out that the user interface looks awesome. We don't have any pictures of any of that, but the way the bag is set up.
Did you get your hands on it in DC?
I did not. No, I did not.
Me either. I looked at that line and said, nope, that's okay. I'm good.
But they did release a gameplay trailer a couple weeks ago of just the character running around in the
overworld.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of insight. They paused the game and went in their party and stuff. And the way the the UI is broken down is really, it looks real convenient. Like instead of being like tabbing over to your bag items, or your bag slots, like, oh, I open the bag, I'm in the main bag, and then you go and there's the Pokeball bag, you hit the R button, and then it goes to the
Yeah,
berries, all that.
that's one of my
It's
biggest
actually
complaints about Let's Go.
it's actually one screen.
Sweet.
Kind of like Let's Go. Let's Go was kind of like that. You just had to find the
You had
hidden.
you had a subdirectory down,
They
and
were all nested in
yeah.
other like non-explanatory boxes. This has it all listed in a row. You pick the one you want, and then you. So
Go down
it's
that
really
rabbit
it's
hole.
like
So
being able to find things really fast. They had their own bag for battle items, so hopefully that's where like your leftovers, your VGC competitive items go, because it really sucks to be like, oh, I need to find this item, so I'll alphabetize it. But now all my items are all scrambled. I don't know where anything is.
yeah,
That happened a lot.
that's part of
In
the
X and
reason
Y.
that I don't name my Pokemon, because I can never find the bloody things 'cause I forget what I named them.
So they showed the UI, which it looks beautiful. I'm just saying it's a huge improvement. They also revealed that online battles are going to be ranked by tiers. So before, in the other games, I can't really say for Sun and Moon, but in the older games, it was like you just got a number. So like if you start out like 1,600 points, and then if you win, you go up a little bit. So you might be at 1,624, and if you beat somebody with a number higher than yours, your number goes up. And so, every time you lose, it goes down. And then they try to match you with somebody who has a similar number to yours.
Okay, so we got a ranking system similar to those they use on consoles now for matchmaking.
Now it's ranked by tiers. So like if you just start playing, you haven't played a lot, you're in the Pokeball tier. If you win you get points for every time you win. Then you're in the Great Ball tier once you get enough points, and then the Ultra Ball tier and the Master Ball tier.
That sounds awfully familiar.
They will be. Is that in Pokemon Go?
Yeah, that's the way Pokemon Go runs things. So we're
I see.
doing a little cross-platform in here. I want to make sure I have the terminology right. So I'm actually pulling it up as we sit here and talk. But let's see, battles. We have the different leagues. So it sounds like they're emulating that, which I don't have a problem with at all.
I think it makes matchmaking easier.
Yeah, so that's great.
So like you will only get paired with somebody in your tier. There's not going to be that random battle where you're up at like, 1650, and then you get paired with somebody in the 1400s, and by some weird, twist of fate, they beat you and your rank goes down super far.
Ouch. Yeah, I can see that. That would not be pleasant.
Like I got lost to this guy because he sucked and wasn't playing anything meta.
So
that kind of deal.
Yeah, so the tier system can definitely have some benefits. I'm sure somebody will complain and say how it's ruined Pokemon forever, but I don't see an issue with it. I think that's anything that's beneficial to try to get more people involved is always okay in my book.
I really like it. They also had a room. You could create rooms for official and friendly tournaments.
Ooh, that's nice.
So I'm not sure how this works because the infrared system on the Switch works a lot different than the DS. Like that's how you originally paired up. Like you face the back of your DS towards the back of somebody else.
That thing never worked.
Well, right, but that's how they do their tournaments. With the Switch, the infrared sensor is actually on the bottom of the Switch. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. I don't understand it fully, but you can basically create the takeaway of this is you can create your own tournaments. Like I can have a league and I'd be like, this is the league VGC tournament.
That's cool. Now
I can pick all the players that are allowed to play, and then their Switches will only find those players.
Now, being a professor as well as you, I know that when people do VGC, now neither of our leagues do VGC. At least mine does, and I don't believe yours does.
No.
I know there's ways that they lock the battle boxes so they can't be changed during an event. There is no outward-facing camera on the Switch that I know of. So how are we going to go about locking the boxes, I wonder?
I don't know. I would I'd have to take a deeper dive into the system. I'm probably going to be having my league a little early when Sword and Shield come out to invite people to come in and play early and maybe do some raids like there and see how that works. It's going to be a little bit of feely stuff, and maybe I'll experiment with that if I get a big enough group.
Yeah. Okay. So
this is those last two things, they were pretty cool. This is the biggest thing. There was a screenshot that came out of the person's team and then a code at the bottom of the screen. And I don't know if it was officially deciphered, but everybody's calling it rental teams, which means I can breed a team of whatever Pokemon I want, and then it'll create a code so that anybody who enters that code in their Switch gets to use the exact team I was using.
Sweet. So that means world champion. We can actually play world champion decks in a way. That's great. I like that.
That makes things so much easier.
I wouldn't want to see that
in. You can go online. What if they make a program where you're online? You can type it, like you can click on the stats you want in each Pokemon you want, and then it gives you a code for that team, and then you enter it, and you have that team without breeding.
Now, see,
that's what I want.
No,
I've talked about that so many times.
I wouldn't mind having that, but I don't want to see that for official play. I do not want to see that because I don't want people just doing what they're doing now and hacking the game, whereas no, it doesn't hack. It's just we'll just legitimize it.
Well, what if they legitimize hacking Pokemon? Essentially, is what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's because the whole concept of the game is to catch your Pokemon, raise your Pokemon, and use your Pokemon.
But that is the concept of the game. But the concept, I don't think anywhere in Pokemon the concept is breed 1,000 of them and then kill 999 of them and only use the best one.
Listen, Professor,
what you have to do now.
Professor Willow needs them in the grinder to make candy. Okay.
That's one argument I have, is that it definitely goes against the fundamentals of Pokemon to breed for stats. A second thing I have is if you do it legitimately, it's really rare to find that Ditto. The amount of hours you spend, or the amount of hours you spend breeding, like switching out the Pokemon with the best stats until you get the 6 IV or the 5 IV. That doesn't make you better at battling Pokemon. So you just spent 5 hours breeding the first Pokemon you need for your team, and you're not better at battling. Where any other competitive game, you can just start competing as soon as you boot the game up. You don't have to run around in circles for 5 hours in Call of Duty before you can play in your first match.
That might make Call of Duty better, because I hate Call of Duty.
Well, I don't like Call of Duty either, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I have to waste time before I can even compete. And what if the Pokemon I make, what if the first team I make isn't even good?
Yeah. I can see using the rentals for play in that it's just for fun, but I think for the tournament system you almost have to have some way and get rid of breeding. I don't. That's not fun.
How are you going to get competitive Pokemon?
You don't. Everyone doesn't have the same crap anymore.
What?
Everybody now has the same stuff. I mean, really. I mean, think about it.
That's how everybody's always going to use the best stuff. There's only going to be like 10 best things.
They all have
every
yeah, but everybody's top 6 are perfect. You know what I'm saying? They're perfect in every way.
They're always, if you're competing, everybody's Pokemon are going to be perfect.
Yeah, get rid of that.
Well, so you don't want there to be perfect Pokemon, or
no, not whatsoever.
So take away EVs and IVs.
Yes, or make it so that they can't be 666.
Well, it's 6 sixes.
6 sixes. Okay, make it so they can't have 6 sixes. Make it so it caps out at a certain number and it distributes them over a different way.
Well, that just changes the definition of a perfect Pokemon then.
Yeah, we don't need perfect Pokemon anymore.
The perfect Pokemon will always be the maximum stats, and people competing will always have the maximum stats, whether it's easy to get them or not.
Get me the perfect Bidoof.
Bidoof is banned in single battles in the fan tiers.
I want the perfect Bidoof. Anyway.
It's got a bit of a broken ability.
I don't know. I don't know anything about the VGC whatsoever, so I'll just take your word on it without looking at the list.
But, let's end the arguing here, and then go into some more of the stuff. The way you're gonna get hidden ability Pokemon in this game, is through the raid battles. So the Pokemon you catch in a raid battle has a chance to get a hidden ability Pokemon. So like, Politoed normally has uh the damp ability, and when it has the hidden ability, then it has Drizzle, which means when you send it out, it'll start to rain, which is very, very good in competitive play. Any of weather effects when you send them out, having a weather effect like that is really good. Tyranitar sees so much play because it has the Sandstorm ability. When you send this Tyranitar out, Sandstorm comes out.
I've watched some of the VGC stuff just because once the stream ends for TCG, it's on. So I'll watch it just because it's amusing to me. And I've seen if you don't see a weather effect on there, it's almost unheard of.
Right. So that's the hidden ability Pokemon are really hard to find, and they're really good. They usually break the Pokemon. Like Talonflame's hidden ability is Gale Wings, which means if it has full HP, its flying move it uses will go before anybody else's Pokemon, regardless of its speed.
No, so it gets priority. Okay.
So priority Brave Bird was really effective in X and Y. They actually had to nerf that ability. It didn't have to have full HP to get the priority like it does now.
Gotcha. So they're trying to limit it so you don't do it more than once or twice.
Right, you get one Brave Bird.
Gotcha.
Essentially.
So
that's just nuts. Like, so hidden ability Pokemon, there's always a way to get them. In X and Y, or in Sun and Moon, it was the SOS battles. So you would make the Pokemon call for help, calls in another Pokemon, and all that. In X and Y, it was the Friend Safari. You exchange friend codes with the DS systems, and then you would get 3 random Pokemon that were assigned to that code.
Yeah, I do not like the way Nintendo does their online system with the friend codes, but
yeah, it's weird.
It really is, and I understand.
Friend Safari was really good though. Friend Safari was amazing. I want them to bring something like that back.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
You were a god if you had a Safari with a Ditto in it. Let me tell you.
I just wish they'd find an easier way to do it. Is all. Even if it's even if it's QR codes, really. I mean, gosh.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Anyway.
It looks like they're going away from the QR system though, which is why we get these codes. Because Sun and Moon had those QR codes for teams, but I'm not sure how they worked.
Yeah, well, you could also scan any QR code at all.
Right.
And get something.
And then they revealed Max moves, which is when a Pokemon is Dynamaxed. If it's holding that Pokemon specific Dynamax crystal, it gets a special move.
Okay.
So then that move is basically like the effects of a Z move. It's a really powerful move with an added effect depending on what move it started out as.
Gotcha. So basically, it's a Z crystals coming back.
It's a Mega Z move.
Mega Z move.
But your Dynamax Pokemon doesn't have to hold that crystal to Dynamax, which means you can have a Dynamax Pokemon with a different item on it.
So it's we're seeing the same. We're trying to get along the lines of seeing the effects that we also see in the TCG again. But because we're even seeing the Z Crystal cards coming out now.
Yeah, I think those are weird, but it's cool
Very
that you
odd.
get a Z move for a Pokemon that isn't a GX, or you get a GX move for a Pokemon that is not a GX. So it's kind of neat, but so far the ones they've released haven't been worth it.
No, not really. I mean, I have a couple of them laying over in the desk. I just haven't really done anything with them. I looked at them and it's like, I'm not going to use these.
But that's like, if you saw the pre-order, I think we talked about it in a previous episode. If you pre-ordered the game, you get like a code that gets you max raids for Larvitar in one game and Jangmo in the other game. And then you get their respective Dynamax crystals, which we all assumed, that's how you Dynamax. You put the Dynamax crystal on it and then it can get big. But this rectifies that, and now it's just the thing that lets you use a Z move while you're Dynamaxed.
Gotcha. Okay, that's understandable.
Then they went into releasing a whole bunch of new abilities and items. So I want to talk about the biggest abilities that they revealed. The previous ability that they had blurred out on the Galarian Wheezing screen is now we know it. It's neutralizing gas, which takes away abilities from all Pokemon on the field.
Nice.
That is insane.
So we got a Mew card in the Wheezing.
What Mew card?
The ability lock.
Does Mew do that?
Isn't there a Mew card?
Alolan Muck.
Alolan Muck. I'm sorry. You're right.
Alolan Muck and Garbodor, and I'm sure the Galarian Wheezing card will take away abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking away this is insane. In two, there's two tiers to this. One, it takes away, so like Gengar no longer has Levitate. Now it gets hit by ground type attacks. Tyranitar won't set up that Sandstorm we talked about earlier. Some teams are solely based around having Sandstorm out.
Yeah, I've seen
stopping their weather. Stops their entire team. And if Weezing can just send it out, if you can just send a Weezing out, I read somewhere that it stops the weather if it was put out by an ability, and it cancels abilities coming out.
Nice.
I can't say for certain if that's true, but that's what I read.
So a little OP in the ability market.
Right. And the second tier of that is sometimes they give Pokemon ridiculous stats, like ridiculously high attack or ridiculously high defense, but they nerf them by giving them a bad ability. For instance, Slaking has one of the highest stat totals in the game. It's basically a legendary Pokemon, but it can only attack every other turn. Because of its ability, it has to take a turn of rest between each attack. Well, now it doesn't. Now it can attack every single turn with its massive stat. Regigigas has an ability that halves its stats for the first 5 turns it's out. So now you can send out Regigigas and have full max Regigigas stats without stalling for the 5 turns.
Okay, so it sounds like they're definitely going to knock the current meta on its ear.
I hope so.
Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing that. Sounds like a great time to get involved with the VGC if you haven't already.
Yeah, this is going to change. This is a good time to learn because it's changing everything. Then they showed us Corviknight's ability, and it's called Mirror Armor, which is like Magic Bounce, but for stat drops. Or, I mean, it's probably stat changes. So Magic Bounce is like when your opponent uses a move like Toxic to poison you, it'll actually it'll bounce off of the Pokemon and then hit the user.
Okay, that's different.
It's a really effective ability in single battles. I don't know so much in doubles, like VGC is always doubles, but in single battles, I have a staple Espeon on all teams with Magic Bounce. Because if my opponent's going to use Stealth Rocks, I just switch into the Espeon.
Mm-hmm.
Stealth Rocks is,
well,
does damage based on how weak you are to Rock type moves when you switch in.
We might not see. That's another thing. You're saying that the VGC, like for actual VGC tournaments, they always use doubles, but in the current like Let's Go, for example, you can choose between a singles and a doubles. So does that mean they could possibly be changing with Sword and Shield and make it so that some tournaments are singles, some tournaments are doubles? Like in the TCG, we have standard, expanded, limited, unlimited, blah blah blah. But our tournaments are always either standard or expanded. Could we see the VGC go into a format where they have multiple formats in their tournament system?
I would say probably not. That's just because it's unprecedented. They'd never done that before.
Now would be the time. New system, new game type.
Well, here's the thing about the status. People don't usually use status ailments in VGC. Like you might see Will-O-Wisp or something, like a random ones, but it's generally not seen.
Okay.
But stat drops are. There's a lot of Pokemon in VGC. Pokemon with the ability Intimidate are really popular. The Intimidate is when you send them out, they drop the attack stat of the Pokemon, of both of your opponent's Pokemon. But if you have a Corviknight, you send out Corviknight, then it will drop the attack stat of the person with the Intimidate Pokemon's team. So stat drops are way more prevalent in VGC than status ailments. So you might see magic or mirror armor being used constant.
Yeah, and whether it'll be a good thing or a bad thing, and it's one of those things where like in the TCG, well, we know they're going to use card A, B, and C together, and we also know that there's going to be in the top 8 of any given tournament, it's going to be this deck, and this deck. So
essentially, yeah,
we're probably going to see the same thing going on here with that particular ability. So
and then let's get into some of the items they showed us. Both pretty cool. Room service is an item that lowers a Pokemon speed in Trick Room.
So what is Trick
Room? Trick Room is kind of like a weather effect, where it reverses the order that Pokemon attack. So normally the first Pokemon to attack when you take away priority moves like Protect will always go first no matter what. Take away moves like that. And the way it decides what order the Pokemon attack is by their speed stat. So a Jolteon will attack before a Snorlax. But in Trick Room, Snorlax would attack first.
Oh.
So it's a move you have to use, and then it flips the attack stat. So a lot of times they'll use like 0 speed stat Pokemon. Like instead of breeding for max speed, they'll breed for 0 IVs in speed. So that way they can
actually go first on there. Gotcha.
I'm still waiting for the Pokemon that activates Trick Room as soon as you send it out. But that might be too broken.
Might be too broken.
But room service will lower the Pokemon speed, which means Pokemon that are in the middle, like not super fast, not super slow.
One's right there on the line that could go either way.
Will actually be able to move before the slow Pokemon under Trick Room. So that's something, if you're not running a Trick Room team, like a lot of times you'll see that there's like one slow Pokemon on the team. And if you know you're going up against a Trick Room team, you bring that slow Pokemon and it should counter the opponent's Trick Room team.
Okay, so that could be interesting. It's definitely
now this opens the variety of Pokemon that can counter Trick Room. It's a huge span now. So we'll have to see what happens with that. And then the next item is the eject pack.
Yeah, I love it. Just, screw it, I'm out. Boom.
It automatically switches Pokemon out when their stats are lowered. Kind of like the eject button, which when a Pokemon takes damage, then it switches the Pokemon out.
Cool. So it definitely is some new items. They're probably not the only new ones we're going to see. Typically, Pokemon doesn't like that. They never give you everything at once. So we're probably going to see more before the release of the game, and then once the game releases, people are like, "Oh, look at this thing! How about that?" So that's just the way Pokemon rolls. They don't tell you everything, and they're actually pretty good at keeping a secret. If they don't want you to know something, you ain't going to know.
Oh, we'll find everything out if they release the demo for Sword and Shield.
If they release the demo, it'll get data miners will hit it, and
exactly.
then they'll rip it apart. So we'll see what happens on that. So, and I think that pretty much covers everything we had on VGC. Do you have anything else that we missed that I didn't check off on the format as I was going through?
Not really. I did have a little note about the eject pack.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So you'd switch out for Intimidate and stuff, but you would also switch out when you use Dracometer. Dracometer is like a Hyper Beam, but for Dragon types. And instead of waiting a turn to recharge, it just drops your special attack stat. So you could use Dracometer at full power, then get switched back into your team, and the next time that Pokemon comes out, it gets another full power Dracometer with no negative effects.
I'm assuming that's an OP move, so
it is. It's you generally see it if the Pokemon can handle. A lot of times, really popular Dracometer user is Garchomp, because its physical attack is also quite high.
Right on.
So what they do is they send out their Garchomp, they Dracometer, they drop their special attack speed, or their special attack, and then they just use physical attacks from then on out.
Oh. Okay, well, I mean,
that was seen in Worlds 2016.
So it's just basically it's a specialist. It comes out, it does its damage, and then just goes to town like it's normal. Then.
Right. Yeah. So you would use Draco Meteor, do a bunch of damage, and then just go right into outraging or whatever.
Fair enough. All right, well, I think that pretty much wraps up the VGC that we had. We went over a little TCG. There's nothing really new on Pokemon Go that I know about, at least not that I've noticed. We do have the Rayquaza raids that are going to be going out, I believe, the end of this week. So if you haven't done that yet, get out there and get that done. Hopefully, we'll have some more Pokemon Go stuff because people seem like they're getting used to me going over that for some reason, even though I really don't want to. But here we are. So
If they want it, we'll go over it.
we'll go over it. I mean, so someone gives me an article on Pokemon Sleep, we will go over it. But other than the fact that we know it exists, that's it. And it's going to replace my Pokeball Plus, which I'm a little irritated about. So, if you're new to the podcast, especially if you're watching less live on Twitch, we do have the podcast available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and you can watch it every Monday at 8:30 on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/the_Razgrees01. You can also get on and see Duck's very popular Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/BlueDuckGoldDuck. That's Blue Duck Gold Duck without the E. All one word. So get the E out. Do you have anything else going on this week on your Twitch channel there, Duck?
If you've watched recently, I've been running into some technical issues with my internet. I think they throttled my speed.
Oh, you've been doing pretty well tonight, so I think that may have resolved itself, hopefully, for you.
Hopefully, I will try to stream tomorrow at like 7 o'clock.
Well, and one of the things that differentiated my channel from Duck's is we did have a Discord channel for my channel that was the Razgrees Demon Den. That has since gone away to make room for now our joint Discord channel, which is the Mount Moon Crew. And you can join that and get involved in our conversations on there. Reach out. You'll see whenever either one of us goes live, as well as be able to share deck lists and other things, anything related to Pokemon. Not to say that we won't ever reach out and do more than Pokemon, but that's pretty much the focus of what we're doing right now. And we would love to see everybody jump on there and help us grow that community as we continue forward with the dual Discord on there. Do you have anything else you need to plug for me, Duck?
No, that's about it.
Outstanding. Well, in that case, if you are watching us live as we record on Twitch, make sure you stay after the outro for our post-show Q&A. And again, special thanks to both Retrospector for our intro music and Nate Wants to Battle for our outro music. I cannot speak highly enough of either of them. Duck, play us out.
All right. So just remember, until next time, guys, if it's too good to be blue, it's probably gold.
Have a good night, folks.
See you later.